Hello and welcome to this week's video on My Hero Academia. This week I'm reviewing episode 3 of volume 4 of Vigilantes. Let me know what you thought about this episode in the comment section down below and you will be read out in a future video. Once you're there, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, click the bell and do all the YouTube stuff that YouTube wants you to do, because YouTube is an increasingly scary place for small content creators. Support your local small content creator today, it will do them a power of good, and it would be really great to reach 105 subscribers by the end of the year. It will be a great way to round things off, but you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But now we get on to the review itself and start off as we often do with these reviews by talking about the positives. This is another largely light, bright and fun episode with some good humour thrown in and some nice little moments of character development here and there, albeit I will admit that as a whole entity it does feel rather lightweight. So with all that in mind, I do think that this might be a shorter review from me. That's not because this episode is bad, but it kind of feels a little bit more like the connecting tissue between two episodes, rather than a bold thing in its own right. We're kind of in that awkward middle step between two largest parts. Last week was the setup, just setting the stage for all of this stuff going forward, just setting the stakes of everything that was coming up. Next week is going to be the big payoff, seemingly, so this week it's build-up, which is fine, it's good, and it does it fair enough for what it is, but it kind of feels as though there's something a little bit missing here, I will admit. Also, this might be a short review for me because I think I'm starting to come down with a cold. I think I'm getting a sore throat coming along, so forgive me if I don't sound quite as animated as I usually do when I come to do these videos. With that said, I think that the episode itself is fine. This week we are still building up to that big performance that Popstep is going to be doing for the supermarket. You know, when you think like a character like this is going to be their big moment where they're going to come into the mainstream, they're going to become a big star, but they're just doing a gig at a supermarket. But hell, I mean, like, Tiffany got her start playing shopping malls, so maybe it'll work with her. You know, they're all putting in the hard work to make this all kick off, to really build it up. Makato's been going above and beyond to build it higher and higher and higher. Let's be honest, given what was said last week, this whole shop relaunch was just supposed to be a quick little thing, so to bring people into the shop, a light little bit of music when they were doing their shopping, they were buying their beans and their gravy or what have you. But Mikato slowly but surely turning it into Glastonbury. Or maybe, given the whole scale of it right now, and the links to the charity stuff that Captain Celebrity's trying to do, maybe Live Aid will a bit closer to the truth. Though, of course, it would be a little bit less We Are the World and more Where Are the Beans. This episode contains a lot of build-up and build into Popstep's personality, drilling down a little bit more into her anxiety and her self-doubt around the whole status, as I mentioned last week. She is a character who outwardly is very confident and very... she has a great personality, but in reality she's rather nervous, self-conscious and that kind of stuff. You get the idea of it. It's all very bankable and reliable drama. I think the writers did this in a fine way. I don't think it over-eggs the custard, so to speak, with all of this. It paces it out quite well. Though I do feel that the introduction of some new characters this week does pull the focus away from her a little bit too much for my liking. This should be a time that we really draw the focus down onto Popstep to get her know her better, to see the woman behind the mask, which we kind of get, but not really to quite the extent that I would like to. This week we are introduced into a whole new host of characters who, let's be honest, aren't really going to be seen much after this whole plot thread is done. And they're fine for what they are, mostly gag characters. Well, not your typical gag characters, but you get the idea. We have the choreographer that takes stuff way too seriously. We've got the two prima donna dancers that are full of themselves. We've got the little rock band guy led by the guy who looks like he should be the lead singer from a British indie pop rock act from the mid-2000s. It's all cute for what it is, and we get the little gag where the pop rocker guy and the choreographer lock eyes with each other, and it's love at first sight, and all the drawings suddenly become a lot more romantic and detailed, and oh, is this true love? Oh, my word, love, pure and simple. Which is, of course, the gag. It's just a silly kind of fun thing to add into the episode. I like the humour of it. I like the sudden shift in art that we have here. You know, we go from the typical stuff, which is fun and nice, then you get the super detailed stuff when they lock eyes on each other and love twangs its bow or whatever. Like, it's okay, it's a fun little sequence. I do feel that they are trying to build up a little bit of sympathy here so that when next week things do start to hit the fan, we start to worry about them a little bit more. The stakes are raised, so we hope that they get out of this all in time. Though I do predict that when everything does kick off next week or whenever, Popstep will be the one that ultimately saves the day at this event. The focus is already on her, and it would kind of bring this mini rivalry that she has in the episode to a bit of a head. You know, this is the episode where she has the little prima donna dancers who are kind of bitching and backbiting at her. So now this is a chance for her to really step out and to have her time to shine. But you'd also have the angle here of her being in two minds about it all. Because on the one hand, she does want to be a pop star, but saving the day in a kind of vigilante way would make her a little bit more inclined to become a hero or just remain being a vigilante. But if it becomes a big event, you know, you're going to get a lot of hero agencies looking, so it might be set up for a little bit of drama here. She's in two minds what world she wants to step into. Does she actually want to become a household name, or is she just fine with just kind of frigging about and doing what seems to be the equivalent of this universe's TikTok? You know, that's ultimately for her to decide. You know, the character's far younger than me. It feels like a waste of time, all this TikTok malarkey, if I'm going to be honest with you. But that's a rant and a discussion for a whole other time. Of course, this week we see the return, once again, of B! She's back! And she's being just as creepy as she was before. Okay, not as creepy as in the last episode we saw him, because, let's face it, it really feels like they're truly turning up the temperature on her creep factor here. You know, the whole thing about having a family, but the family's not reeling around, and what she seems to have done to that other student that she's with. Oh, good lord. This week she's back again, being creepy, with the big final scene of her getting ready to release the big monster that will attack the event. Now, I'm going to throw this out here. This is just a theory, but I think that the monster that we see at the end of this episode is that little lad that we saw a few weeks ago. You know, the one that was a bit dopey, a bit of a dopey Popstep fanboy. He crashed the event that she was at, and the last time we see him walking off with Popstep, not really knowing any better. And now this means that B kidnapped a young teenage lad, pumped him up with drugs to make him docile, and then turned him into a monster. I mean, she is a villain after all, so this is totally on brand, but it does... The weird duality of this whole little sequence here, like this whole little story arc we're getting into this. On the one hand, you have this weird, goofy stuff with, like, the two dancers or whatever falling in love, and we have the goofy moments with Captain Celebrity. This week he fights King Kong, or legally different King Kong, and all that kind of stuff. And, and meanwhile, we get to the episode, and it's kidnapping and torture, because, of course, we do. Of course, this is all providing that Knuckle Duster doesn't stop her ahead of time, which I don't really know will happen, because he just seems to have just disappeared. The way that he was left in the episode or two beforehand, it felt as though, right, this is the moment he's going to confront her. So either he will confront her and Popstep won't get her moment to shine and save the day, or the monster will get away and then she can, but Knuckle Duster confronts B. But we'll soon see about that. I think that as far as the core episode itself, it's good. It could have been a little bit better, but I think it's good more so than not. With that said, let us get into the negatives. And I will admit there's not really that much here. But I will say is that whilst the episode is cute and fun enough, there is a part of me that, like I said in the intro section, is that this feels a bit too mid for my liking. Because let's be honest, it is the in-between bit between two halves. We have the setup the last week, and we have the payoff next week. This is just building stuff up, and I'd hate to say it, but padding things out a little bit. We don't really learn anything this week that we didn't already know from previous episodes, or isn't stuff that we could quite easily just ascertain with the just slightest deeping digger into the subtext of everything. So we're not really making any great reveals here, we're not having any great twists, but what we do get is fine. The bit of a tonal shift that we get towards the end of the episode where B is once again doing creepy, fucked up stuff. Whether or not it works, I don't know, but we'll soon see how it goes in future episodes, but I suppose it works. I mean, we're building up to a big final confrontation with her this volume, it seems, so we're sending her off on a high. What has been effectively the main villain of this series up until this point, who's been absent for most of it, is now finally getting her chance to shine. Well, we'll soon see about that. Just a quick little thing, and this isn't a negative, but it is a little... I know, I'll throw it into the overview. So let's get into the overview. The episode itself, I thought, was a lot of fun. I think there's some cute little moments within it. I do like that we do get a little bit more of a deeper dive into pop step. It's not quite to the extent that I would like to, but as I've said previously, it feels like we're in the in-between realm. We're not quite at the reveal yet, so we can't have the full culmination of all the stuff that's been building of the previous episode or so. Knuckle Duster is a little AFK once again. Maybe he will get into it next week. It does feel like a case of particularly bearing in mind the thing that was spoiled in the behind-the-scenes stuff a few weeks ago, like when are we going to get to the fireworks factory with all of this? But I think that it is good. I think that it's solid. Now for the little thing I was going to put into the negatives, but it isn't really negative. But it's a weird thing that just occurred to me, is that this is an episode called Ensemble Assemble. Wouldn't this be the better episode to have the Avengers knockoff characters in it? You know, think about it. Avengers Assemble, that's what they say. Avengers Assemble when the Avengers have to assemble. In the UK, when the first Avengers movie was released, it was released as Avengers Assemble. Seemingly because they don't want to mistake it with the Avengers TV series in the UK, which had nothing to do with the Marvel Avengers, so Avengers Assemble. So wouldn't this be the better one with it? Because then you could have had the fun little quirky stuff with the different characters representing, like, the Avengers characters. I think that would have been a better gag than the whole Yakuza thing from a few weeks ago, because beyond anything else, that really didn't go anywhere. Like, most of that episode, when they were setting these guys up, it felt like they were going to become recurring characters or villains, but then they get offed almost as soon as they appear by Stendhal/Stain. Oh dear, but still, as a whole entity, a very solid episode. I did love it quite a lot. But again, it needed a little bit more, but we're going to get that little bit more next week, it seems. With all that said and done, let's get into Comment Corner! Now it's time for Comment Corner. As I explained towards the start of this video, I am recording this video far earlier in the week than I usually do so. This is because I think I've got a bit of a cold coming on, and I really don't want to be recording one of these videos sounding like Marge Simpson. So if you hear any weird edit points in this video, it's purely and simply because I want to include as many comments as I can do, because I know that not everyone binge watches these on the first day. So if you hear anything weird, that's because of it. So if I suddenly start talking like or rather start sounding like I smoke 40 cigarettes a day, then you know what's happened. But still, with all that said and done, let us get into the comments, and we start out with Big X1, who says, I agree that it's weird that Knuckle Duster wasn't much of a focus in this one, but given that this entire volume is kind of about him, that is something I can accept. Thank you for your comment, and I understand why they're doing this, but it just feels like a bit of a weird change of focus to me. Like, let's be honest, beyond anything else that we may have guessed or had spoilt to us, look at the cover of the volume. It's obvious that he's supposed to be the focus of at least half of this volume, and he's been absent for quite a while now. Let's be honest, given how long this volume is, he'll come back in swinging and punching as he usually does, but in this early stage it does feel a little bit odd. Maybe this is more like palette cleanser arc stuff. Maybe we're going to get into more heavy stuff going forward, but we'll soon see about that. Next up, we have my friend Gobu, who says, not gonna lie, tends to make my ears perk up when I hear my name out of nowhere like that. Usually I just brush it away. But it's also the reason why I haven't watched Breaking Bad, LOL. Thanks for your comment, and, you know, hearing your name in pieces of fiction, television and movies is something that, I'll be honest, I will never get used to. But of course, given that Gobo's real name is Crystal Meth, I can understand why they didn't watch Breaking Bad. Okay, that was a very silly joke, but you get the idea. It's one of those things I don't think I'll ever really get used to, which is really weird because of the year that I was born, Chris/Christopher was the second most popular name in my country, and yet you very rarely hear it as being the name of a character or anything. So I've never really had a chance to get used to it. But I suppose, like, if your name's Jack or John or something along those lines, you're like your typical protagonist names, you're a little bit more used to it. But not for me. Not for me. I just get heart palpitations when I'm watching 24 and Jack Bauer's threatening to shoot me. And last, but by no means least, we have Taken Name, who says, very nice. Very nice indeed. But anyway, with all that said and done, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your inputs, everybody. As always, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you thought about the episode itself, and you will be read out in a future episode. With all that said and done, thank you all for listening, and see you next time. Goodbye! Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell, and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do. Go on, it'll do me a power of good. Until next time, my friends, goodbye!